Let me tell you just a brief description of who I am. I was born in border of the Tibet and Bhutan, and which is not very far from probably northeast Bhutan. It's called Pumachangtang, and not very far from Milarepa's birth. Very small town. My father's side is completely nomads. My mother's side is semi-nomads. So it's one day my mother told me, just right before Chinese occupation, and takes place in Tibet, 1959, and Mama took me visit His Holiness Dalai Lama near Lhasa, Tibet. I was just infant baby, maybe I don't even remember any of those. But however, I just barely remember when we escaped from Tibet to Bhutan. Almost all towns rushed to get out because of the, particularly my side is, one, my uncle was joined to, and he took up his robe as a monk, and near Lhasa, this monastery called Gyangtse, he is, took up his robe to join to Tibetan freedom fighters. So, which is, if you tied on that kind of circumstances, not only for individual himself, also after all relatives will be danger. So we don't have a lot of choice, we have to escape. And all my family escaped overnight, took everything, whatever we can. My mama told me one of her sister was drowning in the river with her husband. They can see both of them drowning in the water, swept down. There's nothing they can do about it. They have to go on the trip. They put me tires on yak's back, and Mama was probably at that time pregnant with my brother. At the end, we reached Bhutan. Probably, I don't remember that much. One day we are across the river. There's small, don't have bridge, but there are two dead trees laying over the water across to where everybody tried, adults across the river, and then kids cannot cross, let them crawl over the tree. In the middle of the river, I fell down. But I was in the water. I can remember all water is pouring into my ears and noses. That's I remember. My grandpapa was jumped and grabbed me from the river. I just barely remember that kind of thing. Then we stayed in the Bhutan border called Laya. Probably not many years, probably at least 2 to 3 years. They won't let us go inside, because they hold us. During that time, we traded every single belonging, bought with the yaks and everything we trade to the food. The food is the most important. Life is most important than anything. I remember my daddy was kind of like, growing in a duty on a lot of monkeys. They coming after the border, they're growing a lot of, I mean, a lot of grains like barley and wheat and what is it called? Something I forgot about name. But however, after 2 to 3 years of border, they let us to go in Bhutan. By that time, we lost my father's side of grandpapa, mamas lost their. Many Tibetan people lost their life because of the culture changings, and we don't have a lot of nutrition and harsh, difficult time. But I remember every evening, even though we lost a lot of families, being killed and being down and dead, but every evening, everybody get together, dancing, telling stories, and then I never forgot those kind of things. We have big bonfires, and we have one horses, and our kids, I was don't know what to do. I was tired of giving grass to the horses. The horses kicked me in my forehead, and then almost I was lost my conscience. So they began to let us to go in the Bhutan, and that probably takes 2 weeks to reach, down to the belly of the Bhutan. And I remember Bhutan border guard. They have a big, just one knife. Don't even have shoes on it. And then they have one gun, and they have to go with us and down to the, called temple on the Punaka. In the meantime, we not much food left. My mother is the only one left for a healthy person. And Mama was going back and forth. She's like transportations. She take us to back distance, a couple of miles. She going back to get other one back there, going back and forth. She carry with the back and forth. My brother was just a couple of years, just for 2 or 3 years old. He drinking water in outside of the wood, and leeches got into his nose. He was sneezing, he is kind of like yelling, crying, and the leeches want to come out from his noses. I never forgot those kind. He was screaming as a cry. So at the end we reach and down to Bhutan. We still have nothing to own it, and just doesn't have food. We go around begging food one by one, town by town. We go around of the Bhutan rice fields. They give us rices with the stalks on it. We put between feet. We grabbing back and forth the rices, give them grass back. And take our rice with us. So I began to learn how to live with that kind of harsh and hard climate. Not as Tibet, we grew up with the normal life. Best place I was getting food is we went down to near monastery. There are big cemetery. Bhutan tradition cemetery, they provide a lot of foods, and probably least and maybe a couple hundred dishes sit in the table. That's the last food they're going to serve the dead relatives. So at the end of the ceremony is over, they're going to throw out. We are out there with the big pots and waiting, but they can throw out their food. And they are really kindness, compassionate person. They will give you all foods. Not that they're going to back down to the river, throw in a river. So at the end of we have a lot of leftover foods, even though we are beggars. We learn to know how to dehydrate it. cook rice and dehydrate it. And then still we have a lot of leftover food. We raise a small pig. The pig is our, leftover goes with our piglet. It's going with us, go down to, town by town, begging food around. Now I have a collection of these rices. We trade the rice with the matches, soaps, tobaccos. Take with us. We are begging, yet sometimes we trade food with the matches and soaps. This goes on like this, probably 4 or 5 years like that. At the end of, now Dalai Lama is back to India. The Bhutan government going to providing place to live Tibetans. So we have to build house ourselves. We go out there building houses, landscaping, this and that things, This takes place until around the 60s. Yet same time Indian government sending a lot of militaries to fight, fight for Pakistan. So they are collecting a lot of guys to go to the soldiers, which is, if they really comes down to very bad situation, they might going to send the Tibetans too. And even the Tibetans do not belong to anybody by their level, anybody. So I can see the Bhutanese monks wearing monks' robe, but they're practicing shoot the guns in the monasteries. I thought it's a little bit strange, But however, we are in this place called a Kasaka, or a Kasadabjo, people call it. We began to have a Tibetan community get together. They have small monasteries. This is started from probably mid-60s. And then I was at that time, maybe early teens, interested to become as the monk. But me and my brother went to monastery. One geshe is in monastery, small monastery. We have 25 monks, 3-4 of them origin from Tibet, and then there are a couple of new monks there. The geshe he did in divination for me, my brother, who would be good for become monk. Divination is better for my brother than me. I was okay. I really like to become monk. At the end of my mama said, "No, you can go." I become monk. There's small monastery, Shinetazang. So now join the monastery. Still, I go around lay peoples. They need for goat herding. I go to goat herd in the mountains to take a lot of goats to the herding. Yes, sometimes I have a memorization textbook. I sit in front of the goats. I memorize my chanting books, and every single day I come home with a full of the bag with mushrooms and a big, firewood and the goats. I come back to home. That's my daily routine. Every day is like this, probably 6-7 years. At the end of, I'm really good at it, what mushrooms to eat, what mushrooms not to be eaten. Because I am looking after goats, what they eat, what they don't eat. That I know how it can be eaten, can or cannot be eaten. Then they begin to memorizing, begin to learning how to read. And also monks goes to the chanting prayer, reading Tengyur and Gangyur to the Bhutanese people's houses. So, they provide food and a little bit of money we go all over Bhutan start for my travel. From that, I'm never stopped traveling. I'm still traveling every day.